Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we are going to dive into some foundational concept for n8n before we move on more advanced workflow in upcoming videos. We will start by exploring the n8n data structure, understand how data move through the nodes and how the item and JSON format looks like and how n8n handle them behind the scene. Then we will walk through some common data transformation like splitting the data into multiple items, merging data back together, and looping through the workflow. Those seems simple, but if you're looking at the official documentation, you probably notice that some of the components is actually a little bit tricky to understand at first. So I will break down everything and into some simple workflow, and I hope that it can make sense. That will be the foundation of future more complicated workflow. Okay, let's start. So let's like first understand the data structure in the n8n. So n8n is structured the data in each node in an array. So within the array, each element could be anything, could be object, could be a string, like literally can be anything. So object will be the most common one. So in a JSON format. So JSON format basically is it's just a very common data representation that use the key and value. It can has like multiple layer to representing what it is. Let me give you one example. So in n8n, it has there's one node they call customer data store, which basically it has some sample database data set. We see that there's, as we can see that like in the left hand side is the input and output. It has three way to represent the data. Either they call schema, table, and JSON. So we can see when we switch to JSON format, basically you can see that it always arranged in an array format. And you look at this like right hand side, which is the output from this customer data store. So you can see that within the array, it has 5 items. Each item, it is an object with all the information. When we switch to table, it is more clear. It has 5 customer information. So first thing I want to show next is transform data. Let's talk about a split out first. Let's say we want to scrape the each article from this website from Paul Graham. So like under his essay category, there are a list of the article that is actually very good. He write in different aspects regarding how you start a startup. Like when you click the link, you can see the whole body. So if we want to recursively to scrape get the content of each article, then we need to get the link, and for each link we send a HTTP request individually. So let's start to show how we're gonna do it. So basically the first step, we put a HTTP request node, put the URL there. This is just a static website, so no need any authentication. So when we click the execute step, we can get all the data. In n8n, there's function called add sticky node. Basically, it just give you a better documentation. But it follow the markdown format. Let's give it a name, split out them. Okay, we can see that we get all the HTML5 from this page already. Our next step is we're gonna only get the link for each article. We will request HTML node, extract HTML content. So one way I like to do it is like I want to know like what is the HTML structure in the link in the HTML element I want to extract. One easy way to do it is like you can copy here and just control F. You can find that this is the tag. You actually want to extract the link, which is field HTML. It is within the tag A and the attribute href. So you will put some information in here. The source data is JSON format, as we can see in the left hand side. So the key here means that what is the key name that you want to name when you after you extract the data. Let's give it essay. And the CSS selector is basically what either you can select by the class of a CSS, or either you can select by the tag of the HTML. In our case, here is A. Return value, we want to return the attribute value. What is the attribute you are looking for? Return href. We want to return as array, so we can execute a step. We can see that we get the JSON format, which is only one item. The key value is the one we define here, and then we get all the link of the article here. Okay, we can pin the data, which means that when we pin the data, we don't need to run the workflow every time. We can test, make it easy to test in the later the downstream node. Okay, after that, we will check the node we want to demo, which is split out. So split out most basically is because the way that n8n working is it by default when the node running from the left hand side, the previous node to the next node, it will automatically looping through each item. But in our case, although we have like a multiple link, but it's actually only one item. So when we at the later on we want to read each HTML, we have to split this one item to multiple items in order to utilize the mechanism of the n8n that to have this node to run the code for each item of the previous node. So that means that we have to split this one item to multiple items. That's the use case when we have this split out. Okay, so in the configuration, it asks like what is the field to split out. The field we want to split out is you can check here is essay. Do you want to include other field? Yeah, in our case, no other field. Other field. When we execute, we can see that we from one item to 235 items, which is like each item with the key name of essay and then with the link. Okay, next step is like I mentioned before, we would like to get the content of each item. Just for demo purpose, we don't want to run through all the 235 items. So I will add, there's a no code limit, basically just a restrict the number of the node that we will check. Let's keep only the first two. So at the end, we will call another HTTP request node, and we would like to have this domain name plus the URL that we extract for each article. Basically, we will put the article here, and then we will check the output from the previous node as a variable. In our case, is you can see that it will so basically it has a two field. So fixed and expression. Expression is more it's like you are doing your coding in the IDE, but here is in the text input field. So it will use the double bracket that showing that this is a variable from the previous node. So when we execute no data, yeah, I think we have a space here. Let's try again. Yeah, you can see that we have two items being extract. Get the content. First one is the index, which is not the one we would like, but the second one, great word. Actually, you can see that those are the text that within the article. All right, this is how we use split out. Okay, next topic we're going to talk about is aggregate. So basically, aggregate is the opposite of the operation for split out. So for split out, you split one item into multiple items because you want to processing multiple items utilizing looping nature of the n8n node. But aggregation is the opposite. So let's say you have like multiple items, but you would like to aggregate them to display in one location, something like that. So I'm gonna give you one. We're gonna demonstrate it in example as well. Let's copy the sticky notes, say aggregated demo. Yeah, again, we're using a HTTP request node. So this time we're gonna request from the Pokemon API. So we get a bunch of the Pokemon name with the corresponding URL. Yeah, the URL pointing to a bunch of the other attribute. And as we can see that we only care about the result because we want to aggregate the name of the Pokemon. Then one thing I want to add in between is that do you remember that in the first video we mentioned this add field? So basically add field is like you could manipulate the data that for your downstream, or you can manually to add the field here as a like manual input. Just like when you do the coding, you define a variable, but you define your own value without any previous input. So in our case, we are not care about we don't care about the count, the next, the previous. We won't care about the result. So basically, we want to output only with the result. So that's the only thing we are doing here. So actually, I don't need this one. Okay, we will add the aggregate. Yeah, another quicker way is that when you add the node, you click the plus sign. You don't have to like what I did every time I open and job connected. Yeah, like I said, so you just need to, like I said, like our goal is like we want to, here's one item. Yeah, actually, I want to add the split out node first because it's gonna be make more sense to you guys. So basically, as now we have 20 items, which they are split out already. So the aggregate basically is the opposite I mentioned. Let's say we want all the name aggregated. We don't need to rename. We want all the URL aggregated as well. If this is our goal, that we just put the field name drag from the previous node. Yeah, from here you can actually to pull the data from previous. When we click execute, we can see that we aggregate those 20 items into one item with the key value that we define. Yeah, that's just how aggregate works. So maybe on the downstream you want to just display all the name here or whatever you're gonna need to do. Okay, that's about the aggregate operation. Okay, the next topic I want to cover is for the merging code, merging node. So the merging node has like two most common mode to use. The first one is append. So basically it means that you just append the item from two nodes together. Like from here you can see that we append ABC from node 1 and DEF from node 2 together, then become a longer list. One second, let me just open. Yeah, from here in the merge node, we have input 1 and 2. So we can see that we have append node and combine node. This most common one I'm gonna explain in the video. So another one is combine. So basically combine is based on the fields that matching from one of the input node. Like for example here, so we want to matching that the information from node 2 where it has the x equal to each other. Let's say the x equal 1, then we combine the additional information from here to the first item. When we have the x equal 1, n equal box from the first item of the first node, then add c equal Berlin in the first item, but from the second node. Okay, we can look at it in the n8n. So let's copy another sticky node. Yeah, okay, we're gonna use this data store from n8n, and what we can see that there's 5 items that has the customer name, country, create time. Then we're gonna create another set of data that with additional information other than this information showing here. So what we can do is we can use in the code node. So the code node, basically you can do really flexible things. For example, we can just like do nothing but return the data set we would like to show here. For example, we're gonna return one item with the exact same name as the data store, who is J, and also we have some additional info regarding the country and language. So what we will do is that we have the menu checker and connect to both node, and then with the output connect to the merge node. So how do we're gonna combine them together, matching the field together. We will say that they have different. No, they actually have the same name. I don't need to turn on this one. Put it here. The field to match is the name. We only keep the matching. Yeah. So basically, we can see that we only match this field. Name equal to the same name, and then we combine all the info together. For example, in the input one, we only have country with the code, but without the full name. So in the second input, we have, when we match the name, then we have the full name of the country. Yeah, this is how it works for the matching node. That basically you combine the data together. Okay, the last one we want to cover is the looping node. So like I mentioned before, by default, by default, you might not need to use this looping node, because by default, n8n will loop through every single item from the previous output, run the script on every single node on current node. But there's some exceptions. So for example, the code node we just like used before, and a bunch of the database insert and update operation. I think that makes sense, that basically you might want to do some condition before you actually to perform those more critical operations. So in that case, we will use the looping node that to go into the middle of the mechanism to have some internal control. So basically, what we would do in using the looping node is that we take one item out and then do something, and then take the second item out, do something, to the third item out, do something. Okay, so we're gonna show it in the n8n workflow here. Let's copy the keynote here again. Yeah, because for one workflow we only allowed to have one manual checker. So I will cut this one to here, and I will use the code to also get the data we want to test. Only return the item has 2 URL, and what we're gonna do is we will get. So the idea is that I would like to read the feed from each URL, because if I utilizing the n8n internal mechanism, it might run too fast, and it will not provide the flexibility that I need to wait for some time in order to move to the next URL to read the data from that. That's why I need a loop node here. So the way it working is that basically you will have an input of at least 2 nodes from here, and then you set up the batch size. So the batch size basically is how you can, like, let's say if we have like 10 items from here, you can set the batch size like any number that less than 10 items. Like let's say you can set the batch size is two items per batch. So like every time it runs, it will check, it will get the first 2 items and then send it to this output, do something, and then go back to here, start from the third and the fourth, and do something, and then go back to here to start from the fifth and the sixth. That's the idea. So let's replay this one. Yeah, let's replay this one. Like I said, we want to read the RS. No, sorry, the wrong one. RSS read back to here and require. Okay. So we will drop the URL here, and we have to run from the whole beginning. Then you can see that there's 2 URL as input for this node, but it has okay, this one is more clear. So it has 2 run. The first run is will run over this first URL. second run is the second one, and the output you can see that the first run it returned 10 items, the second one it returned 12 items. So after it's done, the 22 item will be in this branch. So basically you can do whatever you want in the output branch, and you can do any downstream processing as you need. Yeah, that's pretty much it for today's content. So we cover the data structure, we cover the data transformation, the most common one. So the next video we might start to build a more real life workflow. I hope those going to be make more sense that we after we understanding those foundational concepts. Gonna see you in next video. Thank you.